The invention by Sam Lloyd back in 1880 of the horses and riders puzzle was a great hit, and it continues to be drawn and reproduced with many, many variations. I've got about 12 of them altogether, I think. But here's a little bunch more of them. The original idea was to have that scenario, we actually have it in two cars you put together, and you had horses and riders to put on it. And the obvious way is to put it in like that, because the horses are separate, but that's obvious, but obviously wrong, because the riders are attempting to ride upside down and face backwards, so that won't work. Eventually, after a lot of effort, if you're clever enough to do it, you turn it that way, and now the horses miraculously separate out into two horses, but into a gallop. And this is a nice one. And we'll try and get him to come and put about. And look, one's playing a banjo or something, one's playing a ukulele or something. Very nice idea. That it's a very well done version, and the legs don't fly quite so high in the air because the horse is slightly distorted. I mean, they're long, thin things almost, but that's the way to produce it. It's a good version. Here's another variation which is completely different. It's the same idea, but it's this time it's got two witches and two cats. Would you believe? Let's have a go at putting this one together. Okay, we do it. We need to do it like this, and it's a rather odd way because suddenly the two cats separate out and become two different bodies. Let me see if we can get this with my finger not showing on the witch's cat. So there's the first one. So the one underneath has partly covered my finger, but you see a witch riding high on a black cat that's streaking, well, through the air, actually, because these are supposed to be witches flying in the air, but that's the idea. But it's the horses and riders and taken to a new dimension, really. There's another very clever idea here, which I've never seen before. It's two cats, would you believe, back to back, and no figures for them, but just hands stroking the cats. Very nice idea, this. It doesn't work that the lines are fairly crude, but it's not bad at all, actually. There's his head, and there's a friendly hand coming from the owner down to stroke the cats. I can't quite get the lines are a bit askew and things with the tail not showing, but that's a totally original take on this horses and riders, having two hands and then two animals. I like that. Another one which is similar to a three-way one, which is one here, which is that's the sheet you get. You've got three elephants round in a circle, and then three castles. I think this is perhaps related to the fact that we have a suburb in South London with a funny name, Elephant and Castle, which I know very well, next to Waterloo. So the idea is you cut the pieces out, which takes a bit of time. You don't do the obvious thing, which is keeping the elephants separated like that, because then the castles they're wearing are upside down and facing the wrong way and everything else. You turn it like this by just a few degrees, so the elephants now break into big gallop and holding a castle. Each of them is holding a castle on his back like that. Something like that. The legs are flying. About that. Yes, and this one here attaches to that one there. Eventually, when you turn it round, the whole thing does work, but it's a tricky one to do. The last one is a favourite one, which I've had to show recently, but I want to show it again because it's so well done. It's Mel Stover, who is no longer with us, sadly, but he lived a good age, coming up with this what looks like a simple version of it, just involving zebras, not horses, and clowns, not normal riders. So that's how they set it. And I'll do it the right way up. And you're supposed to do it, but the clever devil that he is, if you try and do it, I'll get one of these. I've got a pair here. If you try to do it the normal way, something very odd happens. Very odd indeed. You don't do it that way, of course. You've got to do it this way. But look what happens when you try and do it. Something very strange. Something you wouldn't believe. You've got. Oh, let's get that to there. And that's. Oops, about there, about there, about there. Yes, we've got a double-headed zebra. very strange, and two tails at the bottom. That won't work at all. So what the clever devil does is give you another one, which he puts in your pocket to say, give it to the wife or the kids. And you've got to take one from one and one from the other. And the point is, when you do this, you must make sure that each of them has the same orientation like that. And now that one will work. If I put it like that, and I put the riders over it, will appear like as it should do, which is riders appearing on zebras and riding normally. Something like that. So those are the last two are very, very nice variations on the riders and horses theme. And I feel there's more to be done on this one. It's 140 years since Sam Lloyd invented the original version, and I've already found a dozen variations myself, but I think you could do better, didn't you think?